Thanks, you guys. Yeah, so so when Abby did come up to my studio, I have to say, like, the work that I had was totally different than what she sees here. So I give Addie and Gundy so much credit for, like, hosting emerging artists and to have like this beautiful space that is so conducive to community. And there's different cool things happening. There's wine tastings, there are these artist talks, and it's just really great. Yeah, right? Yes. Yeah, so thank you, Abby. Yeah, so I moved here from Chicago in 2006, and I have to say that when I moved out here, I was, well, I love Colorado Springs, but I moved out here from like a city with like world-class galleries and museums, and I was a little bit nervous being an artist and coming someplace where like it didn't seem like there was that kind of scene here. But I found these ladies, and I can't tell you, like, oh, it just warmed my heart to see, like, what everything that they do, offering I'm an emerging artist, and offering a show to me, and yet at the same time showing this, like, these fabulous, like, edgy things that really you only find in, like, big city centers and stuff. So that's really cool. Thanks, you guys. Yeah. So yeah, so a little bit about me. I started college, and I was studying metalwork and jewelry, and I went to Northern Illinois University. And when I graduated from there, I worked with like some different jewelry designers and goldsmiths in the Chicago area, and like sort of apprenticed because there wasn't really any kind of formal education locally available to me. So I did that, and then the 90s started, and there was a real downturn in like the market. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but as an artist, I was exhibiting. I had my own business. I was traveling. I was going to different cities, driving all over the place. And yeah, it was, it seems like I was doing twice as much work, and I wasn't getting, any financial, like, payback from that. Yeah, it was tough. And so that would have been like, I'm guessing it was probably like late 80s, early 90s. So I decided, well, I'm going to go to graduate school. And so I sent out my applications to like all these different schools, and I told my husband, like, wherever I get a scholarship, that's where I'm going to go. And it ended up that University of Illinois, in Champaign-Urbana, offered me a scholarship, and I was only 100 miles from my home, so I took that up. But it was in sculpture. So, like, I made that transition from metalwork and jewelry into, much larger pieces, and sculpture and video installations. And so that was cool. That was really cool. I made these big bronze pieces. They were sort of like my jewelry pieces, but just like really big. And so it was fun. It was a lot of work. I graduated there in 1993 with my MFA in visual media, or not media and design, but in visual arts, and I also got an MA in art education. So I finished my graduate work. I came home. Okay, what am I going to do? And I had my first baby. And then, like, one of the local high schools like called me up, and they're like, "Hey, can you come, start our 3D program? Can you come teach here?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Like, I have a baby, like, so I don't think so." And they're like, "Well, and she was a year old," and I'm like, "Do I have to?" And they're like, "No, we really need somebody. It's only going to be part-time." I'm like, "Okay, so I'll do that." And so I started teaching at Rich Central High School. Oh my God, do you know it?
Honey.
All right. District 22. So you went there?
Oh, long before you did.
Well, let me tell you, it's a different place now. So, oh, is that so funny? Right? Okay. Interesting.
God,
so
everybody else knows about the
yeah, right? Rich Central High School. And yeah, so I taught there, and honestly, it was brilliant. You know, well, it's high school kids, right? So it's high school kids. And so I'd get in there in the morning, like, you know, whatever, 8:30, and I'd teach my 2 or 3 classes, and then I'd sashay out and pick up my daughter from daycare, and we'd go off to the park for a picnic. It was pretty cool. Until they're like, well, we really like what you're doing. We want you to teach full time. And I'm like, oh, really? And at the same time, I was still doing art shows. I was still running my metalwork and jewelry business. I was still traveling, you know, kind of trying to. I was working a lot, right? And so, yeah, so I did all that, and then it got to a point where my husband and I were like, okay, I have 2 children. Here's my other one. This is my baby. I was pregnant with my younger one, and I really got some generous like maternity leave and stuff, which I used to like research school districts out here in Colorado Springs, because like my little kids were growing up, and although where I was living in Moni, Illinois, it was really a beautiful small town. It was 4,000 people. We had this big craftsman style house. It was really stunning, and I really liked living there. But the school district wasn't so hot, and actually, what triggered me was like, this was even before 2008, right? So early 2000s, they eliminated any art, music, and physical education from all of their school programs, which, like any of the artists here know, like that's what keeps us going to school, and that's what helps the other kids get smart, right? And okay, so I'm like, no, that won't do. And so I applied to like 20 different places, and I had 3 interviews in Colorado Springs, and I ended up here. And my first year here was teaching at Mitchell High School, and I taught there for a year until Cheyenne Mountain snapped me up and pulled me out there to get their jewelry program, you know, metal. And now I'm still working 3D, right? So their metal work and jewelry program going there. So I did that. You know, wonderful kids, but they're still teenagers, right? So there's still that. And yeah, so then life happens, you know, and then in about, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional here. So in 2010, in 2010, we had some major health problems with my family. And first it was my husband, and then it was me. I can't believe I'm sitting here crying. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm with friends, I know. So anyway, like I had to make some like major lifestyle changes. And so that's what I did. Like, you know, we got past that, but I started to build, like, I changed my life. I started to meditate, like I exercise regularly, like I did all this stuff, and began the daily art practice. And for me, like moving from jewelry, so like at this point, like I'm getting a little, I'm getting a little bored with what I can do with metalwork and jewelry. And honestly, like I can make so much jewelry, right? I have 2 girls. And they're gonna have they're gonna have so much jewelry, right? Because like this was my business, and like I was selling this stuff, and then I wasn't. So I don't like I have this inventory. It's divvied up in between, Aaron and Caritas, and yeah. Anyway, I was like, okay, I'm done with that. I'm not interested in the Etsy, thing. I'm not doing shows anymore. It's too much work. God bless those artists that really can go out and do that, because that's really, really difficult. Yeah, so I started painting. And yes, I started painting. And so I started with acrylic, and I was making like these big, I don't know, 36 by 36 was my size. And I was I'm a gardener. Yeah, I love gardening and flowers and plants. And I was painting like these big, flowers, realistic flowers, abstract background, and that took me so far. And then I started to get bored with that. And I'm like, okay, well, I feel like I really need to move into abstraction. And I took a workshop with a lady in Taos with oil and cold wax. And the medium just like Gwen Fox. Oh yeah. Shout out to Gwen. Yeah. Awesome lady. So I took that workshop, and I was just really drawn to the visceral, immediate response that I could get from the paint. I don't know if that means a lot to you guys, but it did. It was very textural, and as a sculptor, it really spoke to me, right? Like I could get this visual texture, and yeah, so I'm like, okay, I need more of that. So then COVID happened, right? And any of the artists, I don't know how people, like some people just went in their studio and they like painted every day. Like I was shut down for like 9 months, and like I think I took an online course or two, but I couldn't create, because I found out later I really create from a place of joy, and it was not joyful. We all remember that, right? So anyway, so about 9 months later, and I started painting again, and I'm working abstractly now. I'm moving from working very realistically and moving into the abstract. And I don't know, a lot of my stuff really sucked. And I mean, it really did. Until like one day, like I started doing, and I'm going to show you a painting from that time. And one day, like it didn't suck anymore. Or no, actually I looked at that and I was like, that doesn't suck. I'm like, oh, that's okay. So, and that started this series, and this is acrylic, and I'm going to try to hold it right side up. Yeah. This is what I call my graffiti series, right? And so like I did a bunch of these, and this one's called Ebullient #1. And it was really that release of living through that horror, right? And then just being like, man, I need to create, I need to do my daily painting, right? So I got out there and I started doing all this stuff. And yeah, so I was doing that. All right. So like for me anyway, I go from one side of the pendulum to the other side of the pendulum. So these are not quiet. These are very maximalist, in my opinion, right? There's a lot going on. It's an all-over type of composition. There's a lot of gestural, spontaneous, impulsive mark making. I mean, pretty much everything about this is really impulsive and intuitive, with the exception of like I had a color palette in mind when I started these paintings, right? And with all of these. And so yeah, so I did that for a while, probably about a year.
Is that all acrylic
Oh yeah, this is, no, it's acrylic, and then I'm using like different kinds of like mark making tools. So whoops, uh, mostly acrylic. I don't think I would call it mixed media quite. I mean, even though I am using like ink and graphite and chalk and I don't know what else in there, spray paint. I don't know. Yeah, and I like these. They're very energetic, right? So then I'm like, oh my god, that's like 11 kinds of crazy, you know? I mean, that was what I was starting to feel like because I have a whole studio full of paintings like this, and I'm like, okay. So what I want to do now, because I always want to grow as an artist, um, I need to simplify. And so when I started with my cold wax, I don't know. It was about a year ago. I'm like, okay. I just had this idea of like these mostly calm, quiet paintings, right? Because this is not calm and quiet. I'm like most of these calm, quiet paintings with a real emphasis on composition. And I actually started with a painting like this, except with no color. And I did ink and I did paint, maybe some splatters, maybe some water washes and stuff like that. So, okay, so I made a painting and then I cut it up. I cut the whole thing up. And now I have a bunch of little squares like this. And then I'm like, okay, now we're talking. And that's where these paintings came from, was all these like little pieces. Now they're simplified. Now I don't have to worry about simplifying things, So I'm just going to move this aside because I do have a demonstration for you guys. Oh, okay. Thank you. Because a lot of people really don't know about oil and cold wax. And it's because I don't know. I think it just sort of gained popularity kind of recently, right? With Jerry and Rebecca, Rebecca Crowell and Jerry McLaughlin, something. Anyway, they have like they have these wonderful courses, and they teach how to do this. So, I am a teacher. I mentioned that before. And so, thank God you guys aren't high school students. And I can drink wine while I'm teaching. Right? That makes everything better. So, I'm just going to like walk through a little bit like how these paintings evolved, because it is very complex. And I think the hardest part, like, even with my acrylics and with these, is there's so many layers. And like, I have no idea what I'm doing when I start. Like, I have no composition, I have no drawings, I have no sketches, except maybe my little thumbnails that are giving me like, that are urging me forward. Okay, so I start with like just some very gestural, and this is on multimedia board, okay? Yeah, I start with some very gestural movements with an oil stick. Yeah, it's not a pencil, but an oil stick. I just make these, I make these gestural moves. So I use that, and then, I'll just start passing this around, so you guys can look at those. And then I start moving into the next layer. And I did this for your benefit, because I normally don't paint half and half like that. But you can see like underneath where I have, so all these paintings underneath have like these gestural marks that really are informing like my next move, right? Then I went on top. In this case, I went on top with a very sheer magenta, and then sort of I don't know if it's Portland gray or something like that. And then I went on top of that. So right now I have 3 layers, right? Okay, so then I start adding paint and scraping it away. I don't use brushes.
This is oil.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's oil. It's oil paint and cold wax medium. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys that when I get to like this part. So you can see through, like you can still see some of that Portland gray color. I've added some other colors, and I'm adding solvent, and then I'm scraping the material away and perhaps blotting. And at this point, I don't know, maybe I'm at 6 layers. I'm just guessing. So I have tons of layers. I just keep going until I'm happy. Okay, so then I get to, that's 6 layers. And so I did do this for you guys. I put this together for you guys because whatever, I'm a teacher. That's what I do.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I figure a lot of people don't really know how this works. So all my paintings have underpaintings like this. And in some of them, I let you see through and see some of that. So this one, I just keep going. I'm guessing I probably have 13 or 14 layers now. So I'm putting it on, taking off, putting it on. And really, it was ugly for a long time there. That ugly moment, like you were talking about, Lori. And I was like, oh, I can't go in there and just show them something ugly. So like I kind of went until like I was like, okay, now that's something I can work with. I won't pass this around because I'm working on this one. So, all right. So right here, I have some solvent, and I'm using like an odorless Gamasol. Okay. And I have the cold wax. All right, that's what it looks like. It's just looks like wax, except it's a little softer. It's beeswax with solvent in it. Okay, and then I wear gloves because it's messy. Take my ring off. Okay. And yeah, boom. All right. Okay. So when you're mixing with the cold wax, I use about 1/2 cold wax to oil. I probably don't need that much. I don't need that much because I'm just doing 1 layer. So I'm just using a little bit of the cold wax. So that has solvent in it, right? And then I'm like looking at this. So this is all intuitive. I start with a very broad color palette where I'm not really, I'm not marrying myself to any color choices. Like I have an idea in the end whether I want it to be a cool painting or a warm painting, and maybe I have like an idea what I want my palette to be. Maybe. But this one I was going kind of crazy. I really like working, with complementary colors. So you see the orange and the blue and the purple and the yellow, right? Well, right now I'm feeling like this is telling me that we need more purple. I think we all agree, right? Right? Yeah, purple. Because I can always go over it. I mean, that's the beauty. So I have my oil paint. And I'm just going to do a little squirt. So I want to do about 50%. Okay. And
You have a preferred oil company that you work with?
yeah, this is Gamlin, and I really like their paint. I've tried some of the other ones. Gamlin has not paid me for this advertisement, but like some of the other ones, like they're kind of grainy, or so once I'm done with those, I'll still use them until they're gone because I try not to be wasteful. But I really like the Gamlin.
So you said 50%. Is that 50% pigment to the wax?
Yes,
Okay.
pigment to wax, 50%. And so, like we see right now, like it's not runny. right? It's like this very stiff, kind of like toothpaste. And like I said, I don't use brushes. I have a little squeegee here. And so I'm going to take this, and this may be shocking, but I'm going to cover up most of that. Oh, wait, maybe I'll do another color because I'm kind of feeling a little crazy. So I am clean that off. And right now I have, oh, this is the other, Charvin. You like those? Okay. Yeah, the Charvin, I think when I'm done, I'm done. Gamelin, I'll stick with. So I'm just going to do a little bit more because I don't want to totally cover that thing because then I'd feel sad. And so I'm just going to do that so I don't feel sad. But no, I'm changing my mind. I think I have a darker one, another Gamelin. This is a dark, it's like a transparent brown, and it's asphaltum. And I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'm just going to ignore that sort of light colored one, and I'm going to mix that up. Okay. Am I taking too long? I'm almost done. Okay. So now I'm just going to just take my squeegee and pick some of this up, and maybe put my glasses on. Always a good idea. Okay, and all right, so this is my purple. I have a little bit of purple in the middle, so I'm going to go over here with my purple, maybe down here a little bit, my purple, and I'm spreading it out. I don't know, some areas are thicker than others. I'm not really concerned with that. I'm concerned about mixing my colors. All right, and then I'm going to take a little of asphaltum, and I'm going to pull that over here. Okay, and so I'm covering up, I don't know, most of the painting, which is like really scary to do, right? Because like now we're like solely in that ugly zone. We're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And I just have to keep telling myself, this is not a painting. This is a study. Doesn't matter if I get it right. Okay. So I think I'm done with the oil paint for right now. Okay. I've covered up that lovely painting underneath. That's okay. We don't have to cry yet. And this is the odorless Gamasol. And I'm just going to like, I don't know. I kind of remember the purple being in the middle, so I kind of want that to come back. So I'm just going to like just drip it here and there. And then we're going to wait for a second, and I'm going to take a sip of wine, and you're going to ask me any questions so far that you have.
What does the Gamasol do?
It's a solvent.
So what are you doing to the surface?
I am putting it on the paint so I can pull some of that off, and it'll reveal some of those lower layers.
And it doesn't harm the layers underneath.
Maybe.
Oh.
Like it might.
Part of it, yeah.
Sometimes it does. Do you feel lucky? I don't know. I do.
Do you call this process art? Process painting? What do you call your...
Oh my gosh. I think it is process because it's totally like I'm not planning anything, not yet. So I'll do this for about, I don't know, 40% of my process, and then and once I have something that I'm happy with, then I will go in and then I start planning everything. But this is like, this is low stakes, man. This is fun.
What sort of paper are you?
This is Multimedia Artboard. Yeah, so you can look that up. It's a company that you can do oil paint on or acrylic or whatever, and like it's safe. You don't have to no, and you don't have to gesso it or anything like that.
Is that what your paintings are mounted on these boxes?
Mhm.
That,
They're all, yes, because I like to curate my paintings before I have Abby curate them. So it goes through the double curation, right? So like I have my paintings, and then the ones I like, I mount them.
and that's mounted in the artboard.
Mounted on birch. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe it's been enough time, but whatever. It's a demonstration, so we know I'm going to screw it up. So now I'm just going to just pull some of that solvent off, and the paint, of course, and we're going to see what happens. And, you know, it's going to leave some of that purple. It's going to leave some, I don't like that brown in the middle. All right, so now I've really, I think it added more purple, mostly the brown. It's giving it a little bit more depth, the darks, right, Lori? Okay, and I'm just wiping a little extra off, and that's what I got so far. Yeah, it's like magic, isn't it? Thank you. Yes. You know, I try to get my students at Cheyenne to applaud me. I really, like I said, you know, it's that teenager thing. High school students, Martha Stewart can do that. Yeah. So anyway, so yes, that's all I have for you. I just wanted you to see the process from here. So I don't know, I'm like 12, 13, 14 layers in, and now I start like adding my whites in, or deciding, actually I kind of look at this and I'm like, oh, like what is it saying to me? What does it want me to do? Do we want to like have some shapes? Do I want lines? What do I want? And then I'll start laying, I'll block out some areas. You know, like this painting, I blocked out the circle, and then I went on top, and I did all my whites, and then I added my lines on top of that. So, yeah, it's so much fun. Highly recommend. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming.